What's up, y'all? Back again. Fight Court. It's your boy Dean Thomas alongside my man Ryan Quinn. We kicking it. We got big things going. Okay, so this week's not a lot of big things going. We talk about the fight in Kansas City. We got Garry taking on the boogeyman, Carlos Prates. Let's get right into it, my man. What do you think about this fight?
I think people are going to be very disappointed. I'm not going to lie. I think people are in the fight. I think that. I think that nobody's going to want to get hurt. That's how I see it. And I think ultimately, Garry will win the fight on the ground. But I think I could see something very slow, very anticlimactic, because both boys could do some damage. And I just think that nobody's going to want to get hurt. What do you think?
Sure you said that. I talked about this earlier with Alan Joban on Sirius XM, and I talked about this with my boys in the hood over at the Treasure Coast Cartel. I was in the hood today.
Yeah.
But I was in the hood.
And you made it out?
I made it out. But yeah, we talked about that fight, and for as good as it looks on paper, you were exactly right about that. I think stylistically, it is a horrible matchup for fans. I think it's a fight that would look a lot better in the gym, like just watching these two guys train with each other. It would look cool if they were friends and kind of playing around and trying to have fun with each other. But in a fight with a lot of implications in terms of who's in the conversation for title shot with a win, and not that they're going to be getting a title, guaranteed title shot with a win, but just the idea that the loser has to go so far back that he probably will never be in the conversation. So with that in mind, both of these guys knowing what's at stake here, they're going to be very cautious. And then when you think about it, both of them are kind of cautious anyway. Like Carlos Prates is a counter fighter. He stands southpaw. He wait for you to make a mistake. Garry going to wait on the outside. He going to try to touch and play until you overcommit, and then he can catch you. Then when you make a mistake, he tries to fight. So I think that from a stylistic perspective, this fight is going to suck. I don't want to say that. But I will say that it has the potential to not look as good in real life as it does on paper.
And I just want all the other MMA podcast listeners to know that we said this first. I don't want after the fight everyone coming on. We knew this fight was going to suck. UFC sucks right now.
It's not even that. It's just so much on the line. And when you're dealing with two guys that, like you said they don't want to get hurt. Yeah. And it's not, and that's really ultimately what it is. But it may not even necessarily be from a physical standpoint, but they don't want to get hurt in terms of their career. Like a loss is going to set them so far back that they're going to not be willing to take a lot of chances. And I see that happening.
Now, let's say this happens. It's almost like, don't look now. Garry lost 2 in a row. It's like, wow.
You know how devastating he will be with 2 in a row? Like the fact that would ruin his confidence. Because when you think about it, when you have a guy like that who is as confident as he is, and he believes in that confidence, and when he loses, now he has to make a decision on his belief system.
Yeah.
Like, was I wrong the whole time? Right. So now he's going to stop trusting himself. That could be devastating to him. Sometimes it's always good to be really confident, but you also got to know, hey, listen, I feel like I'm the best in the world, but mistakes can happen because he didn't fully accept that loss to Shavkat.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a mistake. When you don't accept losses, you're lying to yourself. And then if you lose again, now what are you going to tell yourself?
Yeah, because if you don't accept losses, like you said, then you don't learn anything. I hate the saying you either win or you learn, because you lose in life. There's no question.
Yeah,
if you don't learn in a loss, that's on you, and you're just going to make the same mistakes again, which is exactly what happens if you don't accept it.
Well, that's just what it is. Like, you're right about that. That's one of the dumbest sayings. There's a couple of sayings that we often use that are very cliche that I hate using. That's like win or learn or lose. What is it? Win or learn?
You either win or you learn. There's no lose.
Yeah, you either win or you learn. Yeah, that to me is so stupid because they're not related in that sense.
Yeah,
like learning is not related to winning and losing. It's not attached to winning or losing. Learning is learning. Winning and losing is winning and losing. Another thing that I hate, and this is totally unrelated, but I hate this saying, and it normally comes from strength people, strength coaches. They say, you already know how to fight. You just need to get bigger and stronger and faster.
Oh,
I just had to throw that in there.
oh,
I hate that with a passion.
yeah.
You already know how to punch. You just need to get bigger, stronger, and faster.
I would never say that, and I would never listen to somebody who says that.
If you ever say that to me, I swear to God, I will kill you. But look who showed up. Look who is in the building.
Stronger. You do need to get bigger and stronger.
Yeah, well, we all could be a little bigger and stronger. But speaking of bigger and stronger, let's put my man
there he is.
In the game. My man in the game. King Mo Lawal joins the show.
So Mo, we just brought up what are some cliche catchphrases that you hate hearing? Mine is, I hate when people say you either win or you learn. There's no such thing as losing. I think that's bullshit. Dean said he hates when strength and conditioning coach like, you already know how to fight. You just need to get bigger, stronger, and faster. What is one saying that you hate that you think is so stupid?
Honestly, they all have the time and place. I don't find anything stupid because either you win or you learn. Can be true. Because the only time you really start to lose is if you don't learn.
Okay. All right.
Look at Mr. PR.
Yeah. Very.
Trying to be PC. Trying to be PC. Mr. PC here. Trying to be politically correct.
So if you said that,
people certain ways.
I should have said that after every one of my losses, so the promoter could be like, "Okay, you know what? Here is your win purse after you lost."
I won my win purse. I learned my lesson here. Yeah.
I need to learn how to box.
But I get what you're saying. Like most things have a place, right? Most things have a place. But no, that's still bullshit. Some things are just. Because
you think about this, right? Now, the more educated and the more experienced the fighter is, the less those cliches mean something. But when you're first in the game, anything and everything that can bring you hope and inspiration, you'll hold on to. Because at that time, it's true. At that time, you're looking for something that to keep you going.
No, okay, that's true. I'll give you that. That is true. There are times where you're right. That is true. Sometimes some things that you say to people that it resonates with them to keep them going because you're right. There's a lot of truth to that. Sometimes you got to say some shit to somebody that keeps them going. So I'll give you that one. But Mo, I'm glad you're here. Now look at my man. I'm glad you're here because I needed somebody to chop this up with, and I know both you guys have some experience in this. I have no experience in this. I'm not good at this at all. And it took place over the weekend. WrestleMania. Now, I'm not a pro wrestler. I never was into that. I know you did something. I don't know how much you follow it now. But tell me, I got to know what the allure is that attracts grown men to pro wrestling.
Want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first. And you just go first.
Pro wrestling is a male soap opera. Plain and simple. There's drama. There's friendship. There's backstabbing. There's people that start from the bottom that make it to the top. There's those that start from the top and have fall to the bottom. Then they'll go somewhere else and wrestle. There's also a mixture in styles and cultures within the wrestling world. It's just a big soap opera when it comes down to it. And the lines between reality and fiction are blended, because you never know what's real and what's fake because you have a group of people trying to convince you something that we all know is fake is real. And even though we all know it's fake, they live it like it's real.
That was what I wanted to know too, because I get this. I know what you're saying about being a soap opera, and I get that 100%. Like me coming from the acting world, it's very similar. Like it's not real, but when we're acting and we're in it, it's real to us at the time. Like for when it's like action, it's real to us. So I always wondered, is it real to them when it's happening?
Man, look, a lot of times they're always in character.
Yeah,
They have to portray a certain image because that image brings them money. The moment you tarnish that image or make that image look weak, your value drops.
So now I look, now that I'm older, I actually appreciate it a lot more. So I loved it when I was little, and then like I paid attention to it when I was like early 20s, but then I got back into it again. I just for different things. First of all, I actually did a little pro wrestling training, did a couple matches, and it's hard. You get a whole new respect for it. The training's crazy. And then especially like I was telling Mo over the weekend, like because WrestleMania will always I'll always be in awe of it because they drove 61,000 people 2 nights in a row. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, it was 100. Yeah, it was 124 plus people both nights. I'm like, yo,
it's crazy. Like, but and now that like I'm aware of how it works, the choreography, whatnot. But like, can you imagine like if you're in there, especially like you're acting? Let's say this is for you. Actually, you'd probably be a great pro wrestler, Dean, because it's a mix of acting and mixed martial arts. Even though I hate that they're kind of doing the mixed martial arts thing now. That's another conversation.
Because it's really improv.
Yeah. Well, I've done more improv than acting, so I get that.
This Dean, like the character or the image you portray, you have to show that, and it has to be legit, because the moment it seems fake, people quit fucking with you. They will not buy into it. They'll boo. They won't. As a matter of fact, they will not boo you.
Did you get ready?
They will not cheer for you. They will do nothing. And if that happens, your career as a pro wrestler is done. You have to be able to draw out some type of emotion from somebody or some people or crowds. If you do that, you'll make money. But if you can't do that, you might as well help take the ring apart.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and look at it like this too, Dean. Like, let's say like there's fighters that have like, every fighter has a bread and butter move. Well, most fighters have a bread and butter move. Like, let's say that like a fighter has a really good left hook. And when they hit that left hook in the fight, there's like 3 seconds where the crowd's like, there it is. But let's say that like it's in a let's say it's a pro wrestling environment or situation. There's moves being built into that left hook that the crowd knows it's coming, and it's like, whoa. And then when it happens, it's like, and like both in the crowd and then you as the performer, can you imagine the high you get off that after a hit? It's like, I think that's just the coolest shit.
Think about this thing. There are times with these athletes, which they are, they portray characters, and within those characters have a characteristics that might resonate with you, or you might be able to relate to. And then you'll draw a liking to them, you'll follow them, and then you'll see them through their highs, and you'll see them through their lows, and you see them come back, and you'll see it all. And a lot of times, like, it's easy to fall in love with that character. If you think about this, all pro wrestling is a bunch of people getting together to show some action / violence with some theatrics that tends to be unpredictable at times, because you never know. Like, there's no choreography really. There's like things that are remembered, but there's like the matches are just freestyle. They talk it out. They might talk about it in the back for a few minutes, but that's nothing. Because when you get out there, Quinn, think about all the times we went over matches in the back, and we spoke about things. And every 5 minutes, what happens? Hey, let's go over it again.
Yeah.
Quinn messed it up. Quinn went and messed up the damn sequence.
Yeah, they used to say they called it. They called it. He's Quinning it up again. That's what these fucking assholes said.
So finally, there are people they're like, you know what? We'll just call the match out there.
Yeah.
And they'll call the action, right in the match. The crowd's there. They don't hear it, but somebody's in there calling the match and making that match look believable, and making it look like beautiful. A good story is the best thing you can see in a wrestling match.
Yeah, I actually did a pro wrestling match on Dana White Looking for a Fight. We did it outside. We did it on Bourbon Street in Memphis, outside Jerry Lawler, and his little tag team of guys, and we did it on the street. And it was me and Matt Sarah, and we just ended up doing a whole bunch of jiu-jitsu moves on each other. And I think I tore my knee. It was an awful experience for me. It's like I don't ever want to do this again. But I have a tremendous amount, and so I don't come when I question it. I'm not coming from a place of negativity. Don't get that twisted. I'm not coming from hate. I'm just coming from understanding. I want to be able to understand why it is that, because I also think at some level it speaks to our culture, which is like the idea of like these good guys, these bad guys, and we can boo people and we can talk shit to people. Because I think that now, like you said, the line between reality and script is so blurred that I think, like even in MMA, like why guys think they're just able to talk shit to fighters because of that. Like I think that speaks to the demographic of pro wrestling fans, which is now very similar to MMA fans, in the fact that the cultures are kind of the same. That, hey, it's okay to talk shit because we do that in pro wrestling.
And also, if you think about this, I wouldn't say our culture, because if you look at crowd around the world, pro wrestling is big. You go to Australia, you go to Nigeria, you go to parts of Africa, Uganda, Egypt. You go to China, you go to India, go to Canada, Brazil. Really? Yeah, pro wrestling is big everywhere. So everyone likes a shit talker. Everyone likes a good guy. Everyone hates a bad guy. But if you're a great bad guy, everybody will love you. Just like Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Brock, and Wolf. There are a lot of good heels that are so good that they become anti-heroes.
Mo, is there any pro wrestling in Russia?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's pro wrestling everywhere. Yeah.
Okay.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
But like I said, I have a lot of respect for it. I know how good you have to be. And despite the reputation that Logan Paul has, watching him do pro wrestling, I have never watched like a whole match, but just watching clips of him do pro wrestling was hella impressive.
He can wrestle.
Yeah.
He can wrestle. I said that about a year ago. Like he ain't just in there. He's mastering this craft. He's good. Actually, the angle they got with him now is he's feuding with someone. He cut the line, and it's a good angle, but he's good.
Oh, really? Almost, they're almost like calling it out how he doesn't have a lot of experience.
Job to Logan Paul, by the way.
I know. Hey,
so Mo, any more pro wrestling for you in terms of the physicality of it?
You know what? If we do, we're thinking about Quinn. Should we tell him?
We can give him a taste.
You're not telling me, you telling the audience, baby.
We can give him a taste.
We're thinking about actually doing some type of South Florida blood sport style of event. Yeah, because I think blood sport is something you'd enjoy doing, because it's like pro wrestling meets MMA.
I see. I think I see the angle here.
We've said enough, but I mean, it's going to be hot. We got something.
I think I see the angle here. Mm-hmm. And I think I like the direction in which you guys are taking. I think it covers a lot of the basis in which will attract a lot of people. But as we move forward, let's get back to what we were talking about before you got here. Mm-hmm. The UFC this weekend, Carlos Prates, Ian Machado, Garry. We didn't establish who we thought was going to win the fight. We just established that we think that it has the potential to be very dull. What do you think, Mo?
I think that it does in some spots, but then it can be explosive in some spots as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just depends on how it ends. Because I can see it ending in an explosive fashion.
Well, right. You think if it's a finish, you think it's at the hands of Carlos Prates? Do you think Ian Garry has the ability to knock him out?
They both can do something, but I think that Prates is he's gonna have to strike more, because I think Ian Garry is gonna try to close the gap for a clinch takedown or look to try to counter him.
I think Ian Garry is going to, and this sucks because in a way, it's smart. Like no one wants to take unnecessary chances in fights, right? Like the idea in fights is to hit and not be hit, do as much damage and take as little as punishment as you can. But at the same time, fellas, we're dealing with 25 minutes here. We got to get going.
Yeah.
So, so at the same time, there is always an element of time that says, hey, man, you got to get we understand what you're trying to do, but we got to get you moving a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see how they approach it. Both of them is confident as hell. I'm almost wondering if Ian Garry has some inside on Carlos Prates for as confident as he is going up against a guy who has 19 finishes and 21 wins. It's crazy to me. Like, for him to be so confident, it's crazy.
He should be very confident. I'd be light on my toes, throwing body kicks, sticking and moving. You know, I would draw some confidence because isn't Prates the guy that smokes cigarettes and everything?
Yeah.
I mean, I would draw confidence from that alone. Because then, you know, I'd be like, you know what? I'm living a better lifestyle. And that, you know, so I know that I have won up on him there. Game plan wise, I have won up on him there. Stylistically, I can give him issues. And if he go in the deep waters and I start kicking and I start touching his body, will he have the gas tank and the energy to put forth the effort to go for a knockout? And if so, how so would he be from being fatigued? Will I be able to counter him coming in?
Mo, am I tripping here? But when I see Carlos Prates smoking cigarettes, I can't help but to think of Ricardo Mayorga. Do they not look alike to you, or am I tripping? Like, look at their faces. Am I tripping, or
I think they don't look alike. I think the more just their image, because I saw Prates smoking in Vegas, walking out to the limousine. So I'm like, the thing is, like, if I'm a fighter and I'm fighting him, I'm like, you know what? Just don't get hit. If he goes past the third round, and I'm landing my body shots and I'm making them miss, and I'm seeing him take deep breaths, you might have something there.
Heard that. So how about the Anthony Smith? And I've been so disrespectful to his opponent these last couple of days. Like I refuse to say his name, and by refusing to say his name, I don't even know it.
Yeah, I have to hold it up too.
Yeah.
Zhang Mingyang.
Yeah, see, I refuse because Anthony's my boy in his retirement fight, so I've been refusing to say his name.
I think it's Mingyang.
What is it? Mingyang?
I'm just joking. I'm about to say Mingyang. Not Mingyang, Mingyang.
Mingyang. So, what do you think about this fight, fellas?
Wish I knew. That's why I'm asking you. Dude. Thank you.
Man, I'm kind of like, please, Anthony, win this fight. But I like Anthony. I think that if he controls the boxing, even though the grappling is there, if he controls the boxing, he'll take away the striking from Mingyang. And I think that he could win this fight in that fashion. Just take away just don't let him create distance to get comfortable and start throwing. He likes to bounce and I saw it. You can't see it. Like, pop, pop, pop. I think if Anthony can move his head and not be predictable and just throw punches with his head movement to try to close the distance and clinch, he might be safe and he could win this fight. Other than that, yeah, if he just slowly eases off the gas, so to speak, as the fight goes on, he might be in trouble. But I did see he said something. I think it was on Ariel's show where he kind of said, I could be proud of this career, and I don't take that as he's done with it. Or I take that as the pressure's off now, and he's loose. So maybe we're gonna see a good Anthony Smith out there. I hope so, anyway.
Well, talking to Anthony, he's, me and him, we do a show together and we've worked together in the past and we hang out and all that stuff. But I think it brings up a bigger issue that I want to get you guys' opinion on. And that is the training for MMA at times. And I think Anthony suffered, in fight. This is one thing that I always feel like fighters do is that they make decisions too late in their careers in terms of how they're training. You know, like they're training with one team and they probably stay with that team for like 4 years too long before they get to another team and they go, damn, man, maybe I should have did this before. And that's just one example of it. But I almost feel like Anthony kind of suffers from that a little bit because, and nothing against the team that he's been with, but I just feel like he's such a free spirit that sometimes he might have fell out of love with the game, which caused him not to train properly for certain fights because he didn't love the game as much. And I think that's a big serious issue. And we talked about this with Tim Baghurst, right? In terms of how to coach your fighters, and you got to kind of ask them and not like give them the reins on you're going to coach them, but just having better communication with your fighters so that they stay motivated throughout the duration of their career. Because I also think that Anthony, he's still kind of young, even though he has a lot of fights, he's still kind of young. But he's been on this losing this up and down streak. And I think a lot of that has to do with just not being fully motivated in his training because he's just not having fun training.
Does he still train in Nebraska? Is that?
All right.
Yeah. He's in Nebraska full time. But then when he does train, he goes out to Denver with some guys in Denver. And then he kind of gets around a little bit. But I know Anthony, like he's such a free spirit. I think he wants to train everywhere and learn stuff from everybody.
He got skills, man. I just think that he relies on toughness a little too much. But here's one thing: when I was doing my research on Ming Yang, a lot of his fights haven't gotten past the first round, if I'm not mistaken.
No, they haven't. He's got a lot of early knockouts.
How old is he again? Is he?
I think he's young. I think he's pretty young because I know Anthony was looking at him like, man, I done fought all these young guys, man. I know exactly how they are.
So I'm thinking like, if the pace is somewhat high within the first period, and Anthony can make this guy fight back and put forth some solid resistance, I can see Anthony putting him away in the second, third period. When you're used to stopping people in one round, because his record is what, 18-6.
Something like that.
Yeah, I just saw that.
I'm pretty sure the times he's lost, I'm pretty sure they've been past the first round.
Yeah, I'm sure of that too.
So how do you keep him? How do you keep him on his heels if you're Anthony Smith?
Just jabs, they can move, feint, put pressure, close the distance, get in the clinch to try to burn his nervous energy. Calf kick, just try to score points. The soccer teeth to the stomach, just try to score points at first. When the guy play cat and mouse, when Ming Yang comes forward, circle out of the way. Keep circling. While hold your ground, stuff like that.
Mo, I'm going to go back to something that you just said. And I think that you would have been a great asset for a guy like Anthony because I worked with him. And I know how you like to work, but you know what I'm saying? Cats got a little swag to him. And Anthony got swag to him. He don't use it, though, because, like you said, he always trying to fight tough. And I think he's always been trying to fight tough because of the environments that he's in forced him to be like, nah, man, get rid of that bullshit. You got to be tough. Let's throw more guys at him to make them tough. So I think like that's kind of the environments that he's been in just to be tough. But when I worked with him, I said, man, like when we was working on, I worked with him a little bit before he fought his last fight and who was a southpaw. And I was working on him just staying on the outside. He really didn't know like how to pivot to his left. Like he didn't know how to pivot to his left like that. He picked it up, but he was just like, he didn't really know how. He'd never really been taught that, like how just pivoting to his left and then jabbing off the pivot, like just being slick, move, pivot, and then boom, come back with the jab. Like he didn't really know that, and I was like, it baffled me, man. I was like, dude, like you could have been around. We could have been doing this for months, man. Your whole career could have been different if you weren't trying to be a tough dude all the time. It's sad. I mean, it's kind of sad though, man. So I ask you, Mo, like when you're coaching somebody, do you factor that in terms of how you approach their training so that they stay motivated and go, man, I need to come back tomorrow, not because you're making me come back tomorrow, but because we're on to some shit. And if I get this right, I'm going to be really good.
Yeah, that's very important to implement in your training. Because after a while, especially with veterans, after a while, a veteran doesn't have to spar hard because they should have experienced hard punches, kicks, knees, takedowns, and submissions in practice. So then it's about adding more to the arsenal, getting them sharper and just keep them hungry, because you can spar the dog out of somebody, and once that happens, then you have a shot fighter. And we've seen that in boxing, we've seen that in MMA, we've seen that in wrestling, we've seen that in all plethora of combat sports. Shot athletes.
Ryan, you got anything before King Mo before we pull out of this thing?
No, he's going to be back on. Him and I are meeting up on Friday. We're going to talk about our venture and.
Oh, I can't wait to see what you guys are cooking. Man,
it's gonna be hot shit.
What's your wrestler name again?
Who, me?
Blue collar Mikey Mondelli.
No. I'm talking about Dean. Dean was a.
Nestle
Nestle
Snipes.
Yeah.
You made that up.
Like my retirement.
Yeah.
But you got retirement.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm with it, man.
Perfect announcer. The perfect announcer.
Yeah, I'm with it. If y'all want me to come out as Nestle Snipes, I'm with it. You actually came up with that name for me. So if when y'all get this thing rolling, just give me a call, man. I'm definitely there. But Mo, it's been a pleasure. It's always a pleasure having you on. Always a pleasure to pick your brain, to allow us inside your noggin so that we can kind of see things the way you see things, and that's always inspirational for me. So appreciate you coming on the show, my man. Ryan, as always a pleasure chopping it up with you. So if you enjoyed the show, make sure you hit like, share, subscribe, comment, do what you got to do. And on that note, this court is adjourned.